You think you know Women's Day? Chances are, you've been sold a pretty, sanitized version. What if I told you the true story is far messier, more defiant, and infinitely more powerful than any hashtag could ever convey? Every March 8th, the internet lights up with pink graphics, corporate slogans about empowerment, and a flurry of Happy Women's Day messages. It feels good, right? A global celebration. But what if all this glitter and glamour is actually hiding a fierce, unyielding history? A history rooted in blood, sweat, and revolutionary spirit, a story that holds the key to unlocking its real, untamed power today. Let's peel back the layers and journey back to the gritty streets of the early 20th century. Forget the carefully curated Instagram feeds. This wasn't about perfectly posed brunch pictures. This was a time when women, especially working-class women, were living under conditions that would make your stomach churn. Long hours, dangerous factories, poverty wages, and absolutely no voice in the decisions that shaped their lives. Imagine being a young woman, fresh off the boat from another country, working 14-hour days in a garment factory, risking your life for pennies. That was the reality for millions. International Women's Day wasn't born in a boardroom. It wasn't cooked up by a marketing team trying to sell you something. It sprang from the collective, searing frustration of these women. It was born in the textile factories of New York City, in the breadlines of St. Petersburg, in the crowded assembly halls of socialist gatherings. The spark was lit in the United States in 1909, with the first National Women's Day. It was directly inspired by the socialist movement and the fervent fight for labor rights. These women weren't just asking for better conditions, they were demanding a fundamental shift in power. They wanted dignity, a fair wage, and the right to participate in their own governance, the right to vote. This radical idea, this yearning for justice, began to spread like wildfire across Europe. Then came a moment that solidified the urgent, brutal necessity of their demands: the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in March of 1911. Picture this, a bright spring day, a bustling factory in New York City, and suddenly, fire. Flames erupt, trapping over 140 garment workers, mostly young immigrant women, some as young as 14. They were locked in, the exits blocked by management, flimsy fire escapes collapsing. Women jumped from the 9th and 10th floors, their bodies hitting the pavement below as horrified onlookers watched. It wasn't just a fire, it was a massacre, a searing indictment of unchecked corporate greed and the utter disregard for human life. It showed the world, in the most horrific way possible, what happened when women's lives were seen as expendable, when their voices were silenced and their pleas for safety ignored. This tragedy didn't just fuel the movement, it poured gasoline on it. It highlighted the desperate, urgent need for workplace safety, fair treatment, and, above all, the power for women to advocate for themselves. It was against this backdrop of raw suffering and fierce determination that the idea of an international day gained unstoppable traction. In 1910, at the International Conference of Working Women in Copenhagen, a visionary German socialist named Clara Zetkin proposed the idea. Imagine the scene: women from 17 countries, united by shared struggle, raising their voices, not just for themselves, but for their sisters across borders. They didn't just want a national day, they wanted a global declaration that women's rights were human rights, and they were ready to fight for them. So, when Women's Day first began to be celebrated, it wasn't about brunch specials or discounted spa days. It wasn't about receiving flowers and chocolates. Frankly, those women probably couldn't have afforded them anyway. Early Women's Day was about one thing: protest. It was about taking to the streets in defiant, unwavering numbers. Imagine thousands of women, many with children in tow, marching through the muddy, cobblestone streets, holding signs demanding bread and roses. They marched for suffrage, the sacred right to vote, to have a say in their own destiny. They demanded equal pay for equal work, a revolutionary concept then, and still a battle we fight today. They stood against violence, against oppression, against the systematic silencing of their voices. These were acts of incredible courage and defiance. These were women willing to put their bodies on the line, risking arrest, beatings, and social ostracism. All for the simple belief that they, too, deserved to be free, to be heard, to be equal. They were driven by a deep-seated desire for agency and self-determination, a fierce belief that their lives mattered. Fast forward to today, and the fight for equality, while having made undeniable strides, is far from over. Women still face wage gaps, gender-based violence, reproductive rights under attack, and unequal representation in power structures across the globe. But something insidious has happened along the way to our modern celebrations of Women's Day. The very movement born from fire and protest has, in many ways, been co-opted and diluted. We've seen a proliferation of superficial campaigns that, while perhaps well-intentioned, often overshadow the radical roots of this day. We get femvertising that uses empowering slogans to sell products, without necessarily advocating for systemic change. We see brands offering pink discounts, while remaining silent on their own supply chain's treatment of women workers. This commercialization can make us feel like we're doing something just by liking a post or sharing a hashtag. It can make the ongoing struggles of women seem less urgent, less real. It transforms a day of radical protest into a polite acknowledgement, obscuring the continuing battles faced by marginalized women everywhere. From the lack of educational opportunities in some parts of the world to the fight for equal pay in others. It blurs the edges of a sharp, powerful truth, turning it into a soft, palatable narrative that makes everyone comfortable, but changes very little. So, how do we reclaim the true, raw power of Women's Day? It starts with remembering. It requires a conscious effort to look beyond the shiny surface and reconnect with its fiery origins. This means not just acknowledging the history, but understanding why that history matters today. It means seeing the spirit of those early suffragettes and labor activists in the women who are still fighting on the front lines. Reclaiming this day means actively supporting organizations that are on the ground, advocating for women's rights, whether it's fighting for reproductive freedom, challenging gender-based violence, or pushing for economic justice. It means amplifying the voices of marginalized women, women of color, Indigenous women, LGBTQ+ women, women with disabilities, whose struggles are often invisible in mainstream narratives. It means doing more than just posting a picture, it means acting. It means moving beyond superficial hashtags and engaging in meaningful action. This could be through education, learning more about the issues, sharing that knowledge. It could be through activism, joining a protest, writing to your elected officials, volunteering your time. It absolutely means supporting women in your communities, whether it's mentoring a young woman, advocating for a female colleague, or simply listening to and believing women's stories. Understanding and honoring the raw, defiant history of International Women's Day isn't just about paying homage to the past. It's about fueling the present and shaping the future. It ensures that the true power of this day, the power of collective action, unwavering determination, and a fierce demand for justice, continues to drive progress towards a more just, equitable, and truly liberated world for everyone. Let's make this day a powerful reminder of what we've fought for, and what we still need to achieve. If you're ready to dive deeper into the history of women's rights movements, click on this video next.